While you have all these fun gadgets and gizmos around that you have found, you may want to use some of them to make some permanent decorative tools that you can use in the future to decorate various projects. So a couple methods that you could use to do that. I have a few things here I'll show you. First of all, these rollers, this one in particular, I made this by making a coil of clay, keeping it very consistent thickness just by rolling it. And you could take a stick and poke a hole through this if you wanted once it was wet, and then it might actually be easier to roll. But just using a solid one is also fine. But to get the decorative design on there, what I did was take a piece of graph paper, and while the clay was wet, leather hard, so still carvable, I used it to create a pattern. So I wrapped it around and cut it off so that I could figure the pattern spacing using the graph paper. So I did this little design with this sort of sunburst and figured out the spacing. Now you don't need to do all of the drawing, so I did draw this first one, and then the rest of them I just really made dots, so that then I could take this and wrap it around my clay and take a tool, something not too sharp really, I think I actually used a pencil, and I went through and I just poked where the center of each starburst was going to be. And then I took it off and came back and carved this out with, again, I think I used a pencil. Initially, of course, it was, you get those little crummy bits. So I waited till it was dry and came back and cleaned them out even more. And I will fire it. This one hasn't been fired yet, but I can use it then. Better to use it once it's fired, to roll into soft clay. And make a design. So a few other simpler ones that I did where same idea, and this one's just carved out this curvy line. Makes kind of a wave pattern. Very simple, just a bunch of dots. Notice that where it's carved out creates a raised up, so it's a little different than carving into the clay. And this one is actually trees. Let me see how that one's going to work. Oh, not bad. So I could take that tree pattern then and wrap it around and make something. I hope you can see the trees. So rollers is one thing you can do with fun clay. Other things are, you could, instead of keeping all of these little tidbits and things around, is you can make them into clay stamps that you then fire. And you don't need to use things, you can do freehand carving. Here's an example of a flower that was carved. Let me, this clay's a little dry. But this was freehand carved and then fired. So and you could always put like a handle on the back to make it a little easier. So I can take a piece of clay and press it into that. Now I could do this on a finished piece that I've made, or I can then take that flower and cut it out and stick it onto something as a design. So take that, smooth it out, and stick it onto the side of a cup or a vase or something decorative. Another way you can do. a number of these. This one is also hand carved. It's got a little bit of a piece to hold on to, which is a little nicer for stamping. Doing a design. You can take real things like leaves. This is interesting. So this was some plants pressed into clay and then fired, and then this is the relief of it. So this clay was pressed into there and fired. Could be a hanging ornament. It's a little big to be a necklace. But I could take this on a thinner piece of clay and add it to the side of a pot, a mug, a vase, whatever, to use it as a sprig. Those are called sprig molds. So there's all kinds of fun things you can do. So you can use, oh, here's another one. I don't know if it's a flower or a duck foot. Depending on how you use it, you can press it into clay. But you can take your things that you found that, that you like if you want to make some permanent fired things. You know, there's a fun little shape. All kinds of things. Or you can just keep, I just have a box of stuff like this that doesn't need to be returned, but if it's something that you don't want to permanently put in your studio texture box that constantly gets dirty, like this necklace. So I think I might go ahead and make a stamp out of this, because this isn't something I want to keep in my studio texture box, but I think I might like to use that again in the future. So I'm going to make a print of this, fire it, and then I can wash this and take it back in the house. So lots of fun ideas. Look around your house. You'll be amazed at what sort of fun things you find that you can turn into clay decorations. These beads are one of my favorites. You can just press those in, pull them out, make a pattern of dots in any shape because they're so flexible. Make it into a, you know, a swirly design. All kinds of fun things. All right, so have fun.